Hello my friends, welcome to the All Movies. Today I would like to focus on one of Hollywood's martial arts superstar, Chuck Norris, a godlike figure whose essential manliness makes everything possible. Uncredited film debut as an extra of Chuck Norris. Bruce Lee was the martial arts advisor for this movie. He was also brought in to train and teach Sharon Tate with her martial arts scenes. Bruce Lee cast Chuck in the film because he was one of the few who was fast enough to take him on. Chuck asked Bruce if he wanted to fight the champion. At the time, he was the U.S. Karate Champion. Bruce replied that he wanted to kill the champion. Bruce spent 45 hours on the last fight scene with Norris and they allegedly made real contact during their battle. Chuck later admitted that he could never beat Bruce in a fair fight. Chuck Norris's American film debut. The film was shot in 15 days. The film was originally meant for Bruce Lee to be a star, but ultimately replaced by Don Wong after Bruce's death in 1973. Although filmed in 1974, the movie wasn't released until 1981 to cash in on Chuck Norris's popularity.
I want you to weigh the load before you put it on the road, okay?
I will. What am I hauling anyway?
TV dinners.
Yeah. If it's from Shelley,
it's good for your belly.
Yeah, stick up.
Get up, boy. We ain't through with you yet.
Well, yes, you are.
In the corral fight scene, the horse imitating Norris's moves is very similar to the cat imitating Bruce Lee in The Way of the Dragon when he fights Norris. A promo for the movie was shot prior to the main feature to persuade producers to finance the production.
Everything went wrong by the numbers. And that takes planning.
What the hell are you talking about?
I'm saying we've been set up.
When Chuck Norris was offered the lead role of the film, he was in the process of establishing a new kickboxing league in Los Angeles with Benny Urquidez. Norris cites his decision to pursue the movie over the league as a defining point in his transition from martial arts competition to acting. He plays a character named Booker in this movie. Many years later, he starred in The Expendables 2, his last movie so far, playing another character named Booker. Director Paul Aaron was approached by American Cinema when the first director of the film, Ted Post, dropped out. His stepson, Keanu Reeves, urged him to take the director's chair so he could see a karate film made. All fights were choreographed by Chuck and his younger brother Aaron, who was also stunt coordinator.
I ran into some ninja last night. Thought maybe you might know how they come about being in the country.
Hold on. I've got a pretty good sense of history. If you saw ninjas, you're seeing ghosts.
The movie featured 3 members of the Norris family in acting roles. These were Aaron, Chuck and his real-life son Mike, who portrayed Chuck's character of Scott James at 18 years. 13 years after this film was made and released, the word Octagon later became in 1993 the name of a caged enclosure used by mixed martial arts matches and the Ultimate Fighting Championship.
Who sent you? Who was in that car? You're gonna talk.
The producers originally wanted to cast Andre the Giant in the role of the professor because they felt Tanaka wasn't tall enough. They were eventually convinced that Tanaka would be more believable, as well as cheaper, and with less scheduling conflicts, so they agreed to cast him. In order to overcome his height disadvantage, they had him wear platform shoes to make him appear taller than his 5 foot 11 inches frame.
You know, me and my boys, we chew up towns like this.
That's so?
Oh, yeah?
That tells me something.
What?
But you haven't been through this town before.
Now, what makes you so damn sure of that?
Because this little town would ruin those pearly white teeth of yours.
First terror suspense movie of Chuck Norris. All of his previous motion pictures had been action adventures. While this film contains both action and adventure, there is a constant element of horror throughout as Norris battles the killer, realizing that almost nothing can stop him. It is also Chuck's first ever movie role as a Texas law enforcement officer. One of numerous collaborations of actor star Chuck Norris and his brother stunt coordinator Aaron. The picture featured 14 major action sequences and utilized about 160 Asian extras and background artists.
Would you do that to me, Texas Ranger?
When asked to comment on David Carradine's actual martial arts skills, Chuck opined that David was every bit as good a martial artist as Chuck was an actor. There were no stunt doubles used for the final fight. Chuck and David insisted to do the scene themselves despite the protests of the producers, but director Steve Carver insisted, as well. In the fight, David accidentally hit Chuck in the ribs. Despite the pain, Chuck managed to pull off the highest reported filmed kick jumping from a crouching position.
Why don't you tell us why there was a price on my head?
Well, your war crimes, of course.
For killing assholes like you.
Filmed simultaneously with Missing in Action 2, from June until October 1984, this was supposed to be the sequel. However, when the producers realized this film was the better of the two, they simply renamed them and made the other film a prequel to this. Jean-Claude Van Damme was one of the stuntmen for this movie. The scene in which Braddock is tortured by having a rat tied to his neck was originally to be filmed with a fake animal, but the prop didn't turn up on the set. Chuck Norris claims he instructed the filmmakers to kill a real rat, then held it in his mouth while he thrashed around.
You really didn't think I'd leave without knowing for sure you were dead.
What the hell are you doing here? Oh, asshole.
Nobody threatens me.
It's not a threat, Mr. Scalise. It's a prediction.
The script was originally offered to Clint Eastwood as the fourth Dirty Harry movie with a working title of Dirty Harry 4, Code of Silence, but Eastwood turned it down. It was later labeled Chuck Norris' own version of Dirty Harry by the New York Times and was generally perceived as this publicly by audiences. It is also one of Chuck's personal favorite films he ever did.
I only do what he tells me to.
What the hell's going on?
If you come back in here, I'm gonna hit you with so many rights, you're gonna beg for a left. You're beginning to irritate me. If you live through this, tell Rostov it's time to die.
Chuck Norris performed most of his own stunts, including the scene where he hangs off the side of pickup while it is driven through shopping center kiosks and windows. Norris pushed for Whoopi Goldberg for the role of the reporter, but was overruled by director Joseph Zito. Despite the film's success, he vowed to never work with Zito again over the dispute.
Now it's your turn. One night you're gonna close your eyes, and when they open, I'll be there. It'll be time to die. Sleep tight, sucker.
Charles Bronson was originally supposed to play Colonel Nick Alexander. Posters with him and Chuck were made before the production started. The 1985 Suzuki SP600 motorcycle used by Chuck was designed by Suzuki specifically for the film. This was Lee Marvin's final film before his death on August 29, 1987, at the age of 63.
Stinking miles of stinking desert, and you gotta drive us into a stinking pool of stinking water?
What do you figure the odds are on this?
The film was one of Cannon's strongest performing movies at the box office in 1986. However, it was a relative disappointment compared to other Norris films, earning a little less than $12 million. Chuck and his co-star Louis Gossett Jr. have their stars back-to-back on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
The stupidest thing they've ever done.
Stop being such a pessimist.
Joseph Zito, director of Missing in Action and Invasion U.S.A., was originally the director on Missing in Action 3. He and Chuck Norris had creative and personal differences, and Aaron Norris, who was the second unit director, took over as director. In the undercover scene, when Danny is cooking eggs, he is introduced as Carlos, which is in fact Chuck Norris's real name.
Chicken shit weasel who thrives on the misery of others. And when death calls, you'll be screaming like a baby.
5 crew members were killed in a helicopter accident during filming. When the accident occurred, Chuck and his brother Aaron gave blood at the hospital to try and save them. The film is dedicated in their memory. The script that was filmed was a greatly pared down and smaller version of what was originally planned. Cash-strapped Cannon Films could not afford the original draft. Originally envisioned as a vehicle for Charles Bronson by its writers, but offered to Chuck Norris by Cannon, who had a relationship with the star. The story Norris's character tells about being harassed by a bully actually did happen to Norris while he was growing up. Chuck Norris did this film as a favor to his brother Aaron, who is the director of the film. His son Eric plays one of the bikers in the restaurant scene listed as biker number 5 in the credits.
That's it. Now hold it with your foot.
Okay.
Now all the weight's in your legs. Relax your arms a little bit, see? Weight's in your legs. There you go.
All right. Come on, Norris. Come on.
Come on, Chuck. Put a little pep into it. And action. Okay, cut.
This is Mexico, Ranger. You got no right.
I've got no right?
The majority of the series was filmed around Dallas and Fort Worth, Texas. When the show began, Norris was living in Dallas and didn't have to travel that far to film. Many locals were cast as extras, and some even had speaking roles. Cordell Walker was a contemporary Texas Ranger. In real life, Chuck, along with his brother, Aaron, is also a Texas Ranger. Some certain facts stating about Cordell Walker being Cherokee acknowledges that Chuck is of course Cherokee in real life. Chuck is the only actor to appear in all 196 episodes of the series.
Come out, wherever you are.
Ask and you shall receive, Leon.
Hello again.
This is quite a surprise.
It goes both ways, Miss Hawkins.
Hadn't expected to see you again so soon, Sergeant Shatter.
Frank.
Leslie.
Excuse me, I'm here too.
The last film from the Cannon Group Incorporated, before going bankrupt, and also last film that Yoram Globus produced with Chuck and Aaron Norris.
Perfect score. Yeah. Better luck next year.
That's what you said last year.
This is also known as episode 22 of season 2, Reunion.
Don't growl at me. You don't even look like a police dog. Get off me, you reject from the dog pound. Yourself, mutt. You don't scare me.
Both of you, shut up!
For the first time in 53 years, San Diego officials opened the famed Balboa Park bell tower to shoot several scenes. The tower hasn't been used since it appeared in Orson Welles' Citizen Kane in 1941. This movie about terrorists who blow up a building has a scene which takes place on April 19, 1995, the same date as the Oklahoma City bombing.
One more muscle, and I'm gonna blow your head off.
You gonna stick around this time and fight like a man, huh?
Do you want to fight him, Logan?
He's too big.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm gonna kill him and the man he hired to kill my family.
You know, Logan, revenge is not a good thing. Not something to build your life around. The Army Rangers are one of the best trained fighting forces in the world. To be one of them, you'd have to be the best of the best. The samurai knew that his ultimate test and defining moment would only come when faced with inevitable death.
The picture of Jake and his wife is a picture of Norris and his real-life wife Gina O'Kelly. The picture of Jake in the Rangers was from Delta Force 2, the Colombian connection. Chuck and his brother Aaron were executive producers for both the President's Man movies.
Rashid wants the bomb moved to Dallas. He intends to set it off.
You got all that from what? Rashid's statement?
Yeah, watch. Sorry to disappoint you, Rashid, but your nuclear device has been disarmed. Let me guess. You have your fears, but you're optimistic everything will be fine.
Well, fears, yeah, like all men. Optimistic, yeah. Matthew, I am.
Why are you so optimistic? Believe me, what is written will come to pass. It just depends on whose book gives us tomorrow.
We will have their souls.
Son, you've never been more alive. And soon you're gonna see the most glorious sight. But first, I thought you might need a guide.
Fate hangs on the thumb of our final judge. Thumbs up, average Joes can play.
This dirt poppycock! You can let them do that?
Thank you, Chuck Norris.
Thank you, Peter. I believe him.
Oh, me too. That's the evidence.
Something's wrong here. Find out what it is.
This project took over 10 years to get produced. It had been optioned by 3 studios and had been rewritten at least 5 times to cater to the whims of either a studio or a star. Originally set in New York, it was later changed to Los Angeles, then to Prague, and finally Spokane, Washington. Chuck Norris agreed to come out of retirement from acting at the age of 71 in order to appear in this film. Because Chuck is the pop culture subject of countless larger-than-life Chuck Norris facts created by fans, Sylvester Stallone asked him to include a reference to them in the screenplay. Norris's wife Gina O'Kelly suggested him the one with the cobra. The film's cast and crew jumped on the bandwagon when Norris arrived in Bulgaria, coining a new one: Chuck Norris doesn't visit Bulgaria, Bulgaria visits Chuck Norris. And that's all, my friends. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and feel free to post some Chuck Norris facts in the comments below.
Moving on. You killed all my business.
I thought you were the lone wolf.
Sometimes it's fun to run with the pack.